disappearance of Madeleine McCann. Madeleine McCann was a 3-year-old British girl who disappeared from her family's holiday apartment in La Praia de Luz, Portugal. Her disappearance quickly became one of the most heavily reported missing person cases in history. A happy and outgoing child with a love of swimming, dancing, and playing with her friends was nowhere to be seen, and the irregularities involved in the incident made it popular. The McCanns were also on vacation with their 2-year-old twin children, Sean and Amelie, when Madeleine disappeared. They had left the children sleeping in their apartment, something they did every night, while they went to dine with a group of friends at a nearby tapas bar. When they returned, Madeleine was gone. This was the beginning of their nightmare.
We have reason to believe that he's a maniac.
I don't accept the whole situation.
Let him sleep on Monday, die in the light of the chair.
As the mechanics of our
Welcome back to our channel, where we delve into some of the most intriguing mysteries that have captured the world's attention. Today, we're going to discuss the baffling case of the disappearance of Madeleine McCann. Join us as we explore the events surrounding this mysterious incident that has left investigators puzzled for years and even caused suspicion in the unlikeliest of people. Before we begin, if you enjoy our content, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. Now, let's dive into the story. Who is Madeleine McCann? On the evening of May 3rd, 2007, the McCann family was enjoying their vacation in Praia de Luz, a popular holiday destination in Portugal. Jerry and Kate McCann, along with their 3 children, were staying at the Ocean Club Resort with some of their friends. It was a group vacation of 5 families. However, their lives would be forever changed that night. The McCanns had left their children, including 3-year-old Madeleine, asleep in their apartment, while they dined with friends at a nearby restaurant 55 meters away. They had been following a routine of regular checks, but during one of these checks, Madeleine was nowhere to be found. Panic set in as they searched frantically for their beloved daughter. The authorities were immediately alerted, and what followed was a massive international search effort. News of Madeleine's disappearance spread like wildfire, but despite the extensive media coverage and countless leads, the case remained unsolved. That fateful day. By the looks of things, the families had an elaborate plan to have as much fun with their children during the day and have some adult fun and relaxation at night, so their days were very busy with their moving from one activity to another. A detailed timeline of their movement on that day is public knowledge. They took their kids to the resort to have fun. Not too long after, they went for a family lunch, and after that, a fun time at the poolside. It was at this poolside that they took a beautiful family picture with Jerry McCann, Madeleine, and her 2 younger siblings. No one knew this would be the last picture taken of Madeleine. The children were taken back to the apartment with Kate, while Jerry went on to have a great time playing tennis. The McCanns returned to the resort for dinner and finally went back to the apartment. 8 p.m. signaled bedtime for the children, but it was the beginning of the parents' personal time. The group had planned to tuck the children in and meet up at a bar nearby. It was going to be fun. The tapas bar they chose to stay in was just about 50 yards from their apartment, so it was a well-planned hangout that allowed them to monitor the resort and reach their children in case of an emergency. The couple and their friends that joined on holiday had even made a rota system to check up on the children. A member of their group would go every 30 minutes to check on the welfare of each of their children. The patio of the apartment the McCanns were staying at was left open so it would be easier to check on them, but the curtains were drawn to avoid a lot of wandering eyes. Jerry was the first to check on the children at 8:30 p.m. He had met the door to the children's room slightly open. He remembered that he left it closed, but he thought little of it, as he was sure of the safety of the apartment. Perhaps he was just wrong, and he left it open. He confirmed that the children were sleeping peacefully and closed the door fully before leaving the apartment. On his way back to the bar, he met up with one of his friends, Jeremy, who was also touring, and stopped to have a conversation with him. His friend had not joined him for dinner because his children were not going to sleep. His friend had stayed behind to watch over his children. The duo would chat for a long time. It was now time for another check, and Jane Tanner, one of the friends from the group, had gone to check on her children. On her way, she saw Jerry and Jeremy talking, as well as one more person carrying a child who appeared to be limp, sleeping in his arms. She didn't pay much attention to it and quickly returned to the bar. At 9:30 p.m., it was Matt Oldfield's turn to check on his children. He also agreed to detour and check on the McCanns. He met the door to the room open, but after seeing the twins sound asleep, he thought very little of it. He didn't properly confirm if Madeleine was in bed though, and he returned to the bar. Fast forward to 10 p.m. Kate went to check up on her children. She was greeted by a gust of wind as she entered the room, and she realized that the window was open. She didn't remember leaving it open. She immediately ran to check on her children, only to find that her 3-year-old daughter, Madeleine, was gone from her bed. Kate immediately ran out shouting, "They've taken her." It was at this point Jane Tanner, a friend of the couple, told the couple that she remembered a man walking at the top of the road with a young girl in his arms. The young child was wearing pink pajamas. This sighting was confirmed by the Smiths, an Irish couple also on vacation at the time. The police were called at 10:15, and after a frantic search of the resort yielded no results, the police arrived on the scene at 10:30. Madeleine was being searched for everywhere within the resort, but proper action was not taken. This is the genesis of suspicions against the parents. Despite being reported to the Portuguese police, poor action was taken. The apartment was not sealed off as it should have been, and the crime scene was contaminated. The border guards were not alerted on time, and more importantly, a global alert wasn't discovered until 5 days had passed. Madeleine's parents also didn't act as most parents who had just lost their child would. When Madeleine first went missing, the couple did not search for their child, which the public found a bit disturbing. She could have wandered away from the room and gotten lost, but they instead held a press conference, pleading that their child be returned safely to them. Some also pointed out that it felt the couple were putting a lot of effort to get public sympathy. Kate always carried her child's pink stuffed animal everywhere, and it was a very disheartening sight. Exactly what she may have wanted. Investigation. During the course of the search, a portrait was drawn of the man sighted carrying a child in his arms in the resort. He was described as a dark-haired man, 5'7", between the ages of 35 and 49, and he didn't look like a tourist. The resort and surrounding areas were searched time and time again, and after 3 days, it became an international search for little Madeleine, with international organizations joining in to find her. The Portuguese police were usually very closed up during the investigation process, as was the same with this case. They released little to the public, and even the family of Madeleine regarded the progress of the investigation. The absence of proper information led to the spread of rumors, gossip, and speculations as everyone was curious as to what had happened to Madeleine. A week later, Robert Marat, a British expert that actively helped the investigation by helping with translation, caught the interest of the Portuguese police and was brought in as a suspect. but was released not too long after. With the growing unrest around little progress in the case, the public turned their blame towards the parents. They were blamed for carelessness around their children and even suspected by the police concerning Madeleine's disappearance. 3 months after her disappearance, sniffer dogs were flown from Britain to check the vacation home for traces of blood. Traces of blood came up in the apartment and rental car used by the couple. A blood test was run, but the sample gotten from the apartment came as negative to Madeleine, while those gotten from the rental car came back inconclusive. The rental car was one of the theories that made people suspect the parents more, but it was actually baseless because the car was rented after Madeleine had gone missing. The McCann couple were declared suspects by the Portuguese police at one point. They were soon released from interrogation, but they claimed that they were being pressured by the Portuguese police to sign a confession stating Madeleine had died accidentally and they had staged the disappearance. But in July 2008, they were finally cleared of all charges. Life goes on, but the search continues. Years went by, and while much of the public following about the case had died down, investigations were still ongoing in various degrees. 2 years after the disappearance, the Kingdom's Child Exploitation and Online Protection Center, CEOP, headed by Jim Gamble, released a 1-minute viral video for Madeleine McCann, pleading for a report on any information on her. In 2010, Jim Gamble also reviewed the case. He believed Portugal had not investigated deeply into the case. The cell phone data of the location at the time of the disappearance was not analyzed. He believed pings could reveal the people that were within the hot zone at the hour of the child's disappearance.
The German authorities are positive. I think they have information that quite rightly they're not sharing with the wider.
Operation Grange was launched, and it remains the longest and most expensive search in British history. Scotland Yard was brought in to assist, and during this period, it was heavily speculated that she was kidnapped by a sex offender. In June 2020, Christian Bruckner, a sex offender who lived just a mile away from the resort where Madeleine went missing, became a person of interest in the case in Germany. He has made a drunken confession. His phone was also tracked close to where Madeleine disappeared. He was arrested in Germany, and a lot of child pornographic pictures and video were taken in his house. Germany has not been open to the investigation. It is currently still ongoing. A lot of sightings were reported around the globe, but none of them led anywhere. Theories. Robert Murat theory. Robert Murat was a person of interest in the case. A journalist had tipped that Murat might have been involved in the disappearance of Madeleine. Robert was actively involved in helping in the case and owned a villa that was not too far from the resort. He helped with translation during the investigation, and this seemed suspicious. He was soon released not long after because he had an alibi. On the day of the crime, he was in his villa with his mother. Pizzagate theory. This theory is heavily doused in conspiracy. The portrait of the man who seemed to carry a child looks like John Podesta, closely related to Hillary Clinton. It was heavily speculated that Madeleine had been trafficked by a U.S. politician-run sex trafficking ring. It was said that terms related to pizza were used to traffic young girls. This theory was completely baseless, and it was never proven that John Podesta was in Portugal at the time of the incident. The McCann theory.
Did you kill your daughter?
No, never. And, there's nothing to suggest anything. So, no, that's an emphatic no.
The McCann couple was suspected to be the leading figures in the disappearance of their child. Immediately after Madeleine's disappearance, the McCanns did not join the search, and upon finding Madeleine gone, Kate reacted immediately, saying, "They've taken her." This reaction was considered suspicious. It was speculated that in the process of trying to go out to have a good time, they might have given their children sedatives and put them to sleep and maybe overdosed. Madeleine had reacted the wrong way to it, leading to her death. It seemed unlikely, and the couple were doctors and would know the right dose to administer if they ever wanted to take such extreme measures. There was also a lot of speculation surrounding how Jerry looked similar to the sketch. Jerry was gone for a while in the night, the time he had said he was talking to his friend. Speculations surrounding how his friend might be involved also surfaced. The bloodstain in the car didn't help matters, but after tests came back inconclusive, it lessened suspicion. It was also suspicious that they had used a fraction of the charity funds to pay off their mortgage, but the amount of money spent on private investigators was so massive that it would not make sense that they had staged the search. Bruckner theory. More recently, Christian Bruckner has come to light as the suspect in the Madeleine disappearance case. Over the past 3 decades, he had been involved in burglary, sex trafficking, and sexual molestation and abuse of young girls. He is described as a psychopath lacking empathy and deep feelings. He was once caught with pornographic pictures and videos of children along with children's swimsuits. He was caught in Portugal, after which he moved to Germany. Bruckner had become a person of interest in Madeleine's disappearance after he made a drunken confession of his involvement. He lived in Portugal at the time of the disappearance, just 1 mile away from the resort. A call was placed to him at Ocean Gate at the time of the incident. His car in Portugal was put under someone else's name not long after Madeleine went missing, and he frequented hotels and holiday apartments. Bruckner had been convicted of the rape of a minor, and he was a member of a pedophilic chat room where people like him discussed dark and disgusting fantasies and crime. It is highly likely that he had broken into the McCann's apartment to steal and ended up kidnapping, sexually assaulting, and killing Madeleine. The investigation of Bruckner by the German authorities is still ongoing, and they are yet to publicly release information about it. Other theories. It was also speculated that Madeleine had probably woken up sometime during the night and wandered off on her own. This wasn't impossible, but was most unlikely, and it involved a lot of movement, too complicated for a 3-year-old. Madeleine was also suspected to have been involved in a robbery gone wrong. Perhaps a thief broke in, but met Madeleine awake, so the burglar decided to kill her and got rid of the evidence. The massive search and international investigation made Madeleine's disappearance unforgettable. This case showed just how much jurisdiction problems and poor initial investigation can affect cases and lead them to dead ends. Controversies and criticisms. The disappearance of Madeleine McCann not only gripped the world with fear and hope, but also brought controversies and criticisms that shadowed the investigation. The McCanns found themselves under intense scrutiny and faced accusations that added another layer to an already heartbreaking situation. In the wake of Madeleine's disappearance, the McCanns were thrust into the spotlight, and public opinion became a force to be reckoned with. They found themselves subjected to what some labeled as a trial by media. Critics questioned the McCanns' actions and decisions in the hours and days following Madeleine's disappearance. Some raised doubts, openly questioning if they were somehow involved in their daughter's vanishing. With media attention fixated on the family, crucial investigative efforts were overshadowed, diverting resources and focus away from the primary objective, finding the missing child. Efforts to find Madeleine. It's been 16 years since Madeleine McCann disappeared from her family's holiday apartment in Praia da Luz, Portugal. Her parents, Kate and Jerry McCann, have never given up hope of finding her. The McCanns have been tireless in their search for answers. They have traveled the world, spoken to countless people, and worked with law enforcement in multiple countries. They have also established the Madeleine McCann Foundation, a charity that raises awareness of missing children and supports families who have been affected by a child's disappearance. The McCann Foundation is a valuable resource for families who have missing children. The foundation provides support, advice, and hope to families who are going through a very difficult time. They have never given up on finding their daughter, and they continue to believe that she is still alive. Their story is a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope. The happy memories. Despite the tragedy of Madeleine's disappearance, there are also many happy memories of her time in Portugal. Her parents have said that she loved playing in the sand and swimming in the ocean. She also enjoyed exploring the local shops and restaurants with her family. One of the McCanns' favorite memories of Madeleine is of their last night in Portugal. They had all gone to dinner, and Madeleine was sitting on her father's lap. As they were driving home, she turned to him and said, "Daddy, I love you more than anything in the world." These happy memories are the reminder of the joy that Madeleine brought into the lives of her family and friends. They also serve as a source of hope that she will one day be found. Thank you for joining us on this journey to understand the perplexing disappearance of Madeleine McCann. If you found this video informative or thought-provoking, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate your support. Until next time, stay vigilant and curious.